So yes, as I said, welcome everybody to the Staffordshire Means Back to Business Grants and Funding webinar in partnership with Burton District Chamber of Commerce, Lichfield and Tamworth Chamber, and also Cannock Chase Chamber, working with Staffordshire County Council, the Growth Hub and the Skills Hub. So we'll come on to those introductions in a moment. My name's Chris Brewis and I head up the chamber in Lichfield and Tamworth. I believe my colleague Chris Plant is in the same office as Rebecca in another room, working on some other work, but also Chris looks after the Burton and Cannock Chase Chamber, and no senses. Welcome regards to all of our delegates on the call today. In terms of a few sort of housekeeping points before we start moving forward, I just wanted to really make a quick update on our events in regards to other sort of divisions within the chamber. Our Festival of Business was launched in April, where we're looking to work with all of our local divisions, including Lichfield and Tamworth, Cannock and Burton, and also Solihull and Birmingham as well. Really, as a way to talk so positively about our members and businesses within the area as we move through the unlocking stage, culminating in our International Trade Week. So well worth looking at the events tab where you registered for this event with regards to that. And our annual awards celebration would be dinner, but is an online live stream again this year, and will be taking place on the 28th of July. The key date for you all to know about that is Friday, the 4th of June, which is the nominations deadline. So if you are keen to put yourself forward and you have had a positive year through all the struggles that a lot of us have faced, we really want to hear from that and really hear the positive news stories and positive achievements. So have a look at that. A quick sort of wider chamber and policy update. Our Keep Business Moving campaign, which started over 12 months ago now on March the 23rd or whatever the date was when we went into full lockdown, has continued, and our policy team have recently sent out a really interesting detailed policy document about the urgent government action required on COVID-19 business support. Of course, one of those areas is our support areas that we're going to be talking about today. So we'll come on to that in a moment. And lastly, for the youngsters amongst you, I'm 36 this year, so I'm just out of the 18 to 35 age bracket, but we do have our Future Faces Chamber of Commerce, which is all around engaging with young professionals, and their Aston Business School series has launched this month, which is a great way for young professionals within your business to engage with each other and learn lessons from leaders and between their peers. So have a look on that. We'll come on to today's running order. So we've got Anthony Hodges and Anthony Baines from Staffordshire County Council with us, Suzanne Quinn from the Staffordshire Skills Hub, and Becky Parker from Stoke-on-Trent Staffordshire Growth Hub. We'll have a Q&A with our delegates after the presentations, and there's also Zoom networking after the call from 1 o'clock-ish, depending on the timing spells of the sort of main event as such. Something that we really want to trial and really encourage those people on the call today. Join us afterwards, have a cup of tea, have a 5-minute break, join us afterwards, and really network and discuss some of the areas that will have been brought up in the webinar. It's something we all miss, that we aren't able to do when we are at a face-to-face event, and we really would welcome you to join that. So my colleague Jess will put the link in the chat box during the course of the next hour, so you can get that into your browser and join the call afterwards. So that's all from me. I will pass over now to our presenters for the afternoon. If I could, as I said, if you have got any questions, please use the Q&A box, more general sort of chat into the chat box. And I'll pass over to Anthony Hodge to give his introduction to Staffs Council. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm really delighted to be talking to you all. I very much wanted to just give a bit of context and background to Tony's presentation. Tony Baines and I have been working very closely on this. My role at the County Council is Assistant Director for Business and Enterprise, and the County Council has got a long track record of working hard with businesses, either through the Growth Hub, working closely with the Chamber of Commerce, but also major investors as well. And we've led on the likes of the I-54 regional employment site, working with partners Wolverhampton and South Staffordshire, Red Hill Extension, and any number of European funded programmes getting resources into the county. So we are absolutely committed to the economy as a county council. It's a non-statutory part of the work we do, and we're really keen to understand and work with our businesses to make sure they can thrive. When COVID hit us last year, I think we were all somewhat hit by a train, wondering what the outcomes were going to be and the uncertainty that it introduced, and it was deeply worrying for us. As a county council, we spotted straight away, with the help of Stoke and Staffordshire Chambers of Commerce, but also the Federation of Small Businesses, FSB, we spotted straight away that there were gaps in government support, and there were many companies that fell through the gaps, as it were. So we developed our own emergency grant scheme. It was small amount of money compared to the levels of money that were being distributed by government, but still it was an absolute recognition of the importance that we attach to businesses within the county, and our absolute commitment to try to work with them to ensure that they could get through the pandemic as successfully as possible. That support evolved and changed as the pandemic and the country's response evolved and changed, and it emerged into the likes of our PPE support scheme. As we were coming out of the first lockdown, there was real problems around PPE, and we were offering a start back PPE scheme. But what was really important was we were signposting people to our trusted suppliers of PPE so that people could get hold of it and open up safely. So that was really important. I think it was on October the 29th, and I'll hand over to Tony because I don't want to steal his thunder. October the 29th, the government announced the additional restrictions grant programme, and that was in line with our own response to COVID-19, which was the means back to business strategy, which is all about our response to the pandemic. We came up with this concept of really putting a lot of our existing programs onto a really accelerated delivery program and expanding it. Only use the term go big or go home, Anthony, when we were putting the program together, because I was not looking at particularly large sums of money, but through Tony's input, we really grew the program. But we could not have delivered this program that Tony's going to talk to you about without partnership with the chambers, the FSB, the private sector, but most importantly to us as well, our district and boroughs, who've played a fundamental role in transporting their additional restrictions grants from their resources over to us to enable us to deliver it. So I just wanted to set the scene, and what I'd like to do, if that's okay with you, is hand over to Tony now, who'll put you through the detail of Staffordshire means back to business. And I very much hope you have lots of really good questions at the end, primarily for Tony, but I'd also be interested to answer some too.
Okay, thank you, Anthony, and good morning, everyone. Tony Baines, Assistant Director for Skills and Employability at the County Council. And I'll just share my screen with you now. Hopefully you can all see that. Okay, what we wanted to talk to you about today really is about the latest round of investment that we've been making in partnership with boroughs and districts and other organisations to help the local economy recover. So what I wanted to do today is just talk to you about our strategy and the sort of programmes and support we've put in place. And clearly, back in the summer in July, we published the County Council's Economic Recovery, Renewal and Transformation Strategy. And that set out how we're going to respond to the COVID pandemic and actually support people and businesses in the response to the pandemic, but also that recovery, renewal and the opportunities for transformation. And what we clearly identified over the last sort of few months is that we need to really prioritise support for particularly small businesses and those people whose jobs and careers have been impacted by the pandemic, and put together a programme that can cover the gaps in national programmes and other support that's available, but add value to additional funds that are already available, such as the additional restrictions grant. And by working with our borough and district councils and the Chamber of Commerce, Federation of Small Business, we've been able to bring forward a package of support that is quite quickly, that brings scale and efficiency to the process so that businesses and people know where to go for that support and what advice and support is available around that locally. And combined in total, we've been able to pool funding, leveraging other sources of funding and create an investment package with a value of about £5 million. And that's come together really quickly over the last couple of months. And so the key aspect for us now is to get that out to businesses to take advantage of that support and the opportunity it provides to you. And as part of that support, there are three sort of key areas of investment we wanted to focus on where we'd see, impacts in the marketplace. Clearly, apprenticeships are being affected, and we wanted to try and stimulate apprenticeships. We also wanted to help businesses recover and respond and put support in around training. And also, we needed businesses to continue to be able to take advantage of the opportunities to thrive and grow. And so what I'd like to do is just take you through those sort of three aspects of support we've been able to put in place and how you can get access to some of that funding. So in terms of apprenticeships, we know small businesses are the lifeblood of apprenticeship schemes. They're the main employer of apprentices across the patch, and it's really important we support small businesses and businesses who don't pay the apprenticeship levy to be able to support young people and adults getting into apprenticeships. Over the last year, we've seen significant drop-off in the number of apprenticeship opportunities coming forward, and in particular, the opportunities available for young people. And alongside that, we also know youth unemployment has almost doubled across the county in the last 12 months. And what we really wanted to do is try and help businesses create opportunities for fairly many young people who go and start their career in apprenticeships. But what we also wanted to do is line that offer up with existing government support and programs that are out there. Some of you may have heard the Kickstart scheme, which offers a 6-month supported work placement. But this apprenticeship offer also offers a further progression route into apprenticeships for young people leaving Kickstart. But over the longer term, we do know that apprenticeships are a key way of businesses developing their workforce and the skills for the future. And we only have to think back to the last recession back in 2008, and we saw the big drop-off in apprenticeships in sectors such as construction, for instance, that led to long-term skills issues in that sector. And it was only the last couple of years apprenticeship numbers have recovered to where they were at that time. So apprenticeships are really important part of the local economy and the workforce, and for businesses to be able to grow their own talent and grow their own skills. And so what we offer through the Apprenticeship 500 scheme is a £5,000 incentive grant to any small businesses who recruits an apprentice from Staffordshire. And clearly, it's up to businesses to go to the market and recruit their apprentice, but that's where we're pushing people to go if they can do that. This grant can be used to support businesses in that apprenticeship in terms of recruitment, training and retention of apprentices through the life of the programme. And this is in addition to the current government incentive that's already in place, which offers a £3,000 available to any business taking on an apprentice up until September. So it's a significant amount of support there for businesses to recruit an apprentice. Overall, the County Council has invested £500,000 of its own funding into this scheme, and with the borough and districts,
Yeah, I believe the sound has gone off on Tony's screen. Tony, if you can hear us, if I could ask you to sign in and sign out again if possible. Could I pass over to Tony Hodge as our substitute, if that's okay?
I'm afraid you very much have got the B team there, because Tony paints us very much into the detail. But let's see how we go, and hopefully Tony will be able to. He's just texted me to say he's trying to get back in.
Yeah.
So, essentially, our apprenticeship grant, we're looking at providing an incentive of £5,000 to local employers who recruit an unemployed person between 16 and 24 years old. The grant can be used to cover investment in recruitment, training and retention apprenticeships. And also the County Council is putting in £500,000 of its own money, which is matched by almost £1.7 million of the district ARD scheme. So it's a pretty significant scheme, and it's one which we're getting an awful lot of interest for across the county and in particular areas as well. I'm sure you can understand that in some areas there's greater demand than others. So we're having a particular push in the localities where the take-up hasn't been quite as big. Are we able to move on the slide onto the next? No. Or has Tony got total monopoly over the whole thing?
I think Jess can move the slides, I believe. Yeah, if we just, Jess, if you just take over and put there we go. Seamless, there we go. Yeah, so continue, if you go on to the next one, there you are, Tony, perfect.
Okay, this is another strand of the Staffordshire Means Back to Business programme. We're looking to provide what we call nil cost to training to businesses. This is where we incentivise small businesses to retrain or upskill their staff, and primarily as a result of COVID-19. We absolutely recognise that the operating environment has changed, and the new restrictions have created new requirements of businesses, which can at times be quite labour intensive or can be a bit of a forest and it's difficult to see through them. The scheme is very much about staff training and development to help you to meet these changing requirements, because it is a costly process to make sure that people are work safe as the programmes which are coming forward. We're looking to deliver that activity through the Skills Hub to make sure that it is support which is quality assured and is demand led for SMEs. So, you know, it is a comprehensive package, and it is up to almost £10,000. The grant is 52%, which is maximum £5,000 towards the training, which is matched by European funding of 48%. So you can see that it's a fairly comprehensive package, whereby the programme will offer up to £10,000 free training. I've just had a note that Tony's trying to get back in, but he's struggling. I'm just wondering if someone can perhaps help him in any way.
Yeah, Jesse's on the case with Tony. So Tony, if you just continue for the moment, and then we'll bring Tony back in. If Tony B, if he does come back in. Okay,
so the county council is going to be putting in 104,000 into this scheme. We're going with the match from the districts and boroughs, and this is why their contribution is so important. Of £500,000. With the ESF funding, it takes it up to over £1 million worth of support. So it's a pretty comprehensive package, and one which has been really well received, not least by the districts and boroughs, but also by the SMEs that we've been speaking to so far. Can we have the next slide, please? This is another stream on the Staffordshire Means Back to Business, which is called Small Business to Thrive. This is all about providing assistance to businesses to enable them to continue trading and operating during restrictions. I mean, we've all seen companies who've been able to, well, on the high street primarily, but there are a lot of companies outside of the high street, of course, who keep the counties and the national economy turning, and it's important that they are able to keep operating throughout COVID-19, particularly the amount of internet shopping at the moment. We, of course, have got a really good, strong business case, and we always business-based, and we always want to look to grow that. One of the great benefits of the Staffordshire economy is it's a broad-based economy, therefore we're not reliant on any one particular sector, although we are absolutely aware of the challenges that COVID-19 have posed by specific groups, age groups, but also sectors such as leisure, tourism and hospitality, and that's something we're very mindful of. The restrictions as a result of the lockdown we do recognise require business to put additional measures in place to continue to operate, and those measures do cost money. So the intention of this programme is it will complement the existing business startup and loan schemes to encourage enterprise. So it's almost like a conveyor belt in terms of a business startup, business loans, and then business to thrive, like continuous improvement. This proposal is about providing 100% grants of between £2,000 and £5,000 to cover expenditure essential to enable the businesses to continue to operate. So, not a huge sum of money, but also, a reasonable size, up to £5,000. And the grants are prioritised in terms of value of benefit. So we're all really keen to ensure that we generate jobs, protect and generate new jobs, new products and services, and increase turnover. For me, the key of this is about jobs, which is about people's livelihoods. The county's invested 150,000, and the boroughs and districts 370,000. The actual amount invested by individual districts and boroughs differs depending on the where they see the particular need in their district. So it's not a uniform approach across the county, and that's one of the intelligent mechanisms of the scheme, that it can flex across the county. And Tony, it's great to see you back.
So are you with us now?
Yeah, sorry about that. It just booted me out.
Well done, Tony. No, that's very well planned there. Thank you very much, Tony H. Tony B, I think that's the last slide, I believe. Moving on to questions. So if we can, there we go. If we can go on to the question side. So if anyone does have any questions for Tony, please do shout up, and then we'll pass on to Suzanne and to Rebecca. Tony, one of the areas I wanted to pick up with you was the importance around the joint working between the different local authorities. Obviously, that's been a real sort of key part of the process. How important has that been, and I suppose more generally on the overarching plans in that and supporting businesses across Staffordshire?
If I kick off and then Tony goes. Go on, Tony, after you.
I was just going to say, I mean, that this has been really important, that we've been, as sort of 9 district borough councils and county council, come together and put this scheme together quite quickly and at scale, across the county of this size, and we believe it's unique and the only proposition of this nature in the country. But this builds on a lot of work, and particularly Anthony's been doing with the boroughs and districts that he can tell you about. But it has been really important to pool this in this way and have one clear offer to businesses really about what's out there and where you go and get that support, rather than having multiple schemes. Anthony?
Yeah, I mean, it's been difficult, to be honest. All the districts and boroughs have got their own views. Of course they do, and they've got their own political priorities, and rightly so. But I think they recognise the opportunity that this presents, and they've been really positive about it because they all want to support their local economies. One of the really interesting parts of the programme is we can make sure that the grant that they get is channeled specifically into their area, so their communities benefit from their grant, and then the county council's grant backfill where there are any shortages. Because we look at it county-wide, of course, whereas, say, Stafford will only want its money, rightly so, to people in Stafford. So partnership adds value, has different dimensions, but it can be challenging, rightly so. Absolutely. Such as the technological struggles with internet connection as we're experiencing today, which can also be a struggle. But I think, I said, I think it's really important that we get that sort of word out across the different areas of Staffordshire, and obviously, look to work very closely with that. So, no, thank you, Tony H and Tony B. I can see a question from Vanessa Carter, so we'll come on to that, Vanessa. I think with Suzanne and Rebecca are here to sort of go through that process. So I think what we'll do now is we'll move over to Suzanne Quinn. So Suzanne, I know we did an event with yourself in August last year. I checked before we came on. We're still sat in the exact same rooms, but hopefully been able to move forward in a much more positive way. And certainly, I think looking back at the situation we had in August, September, it's now looking forward, hopefully much more positively than previously in August. So Suzanne, over to you to give a bit of information around the skills side, and then we'll bring on Rebecca as well. And thank you to Tony B and Tony H.
No, thank you for the introduction, and yet still sat in the same office at the bottom of my garden. So yeah, my name's Suzanne Quinn. I run the Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire Skills Hub, and as Tony introduced, we work with businesses throughout the Staffordshire region to help with training and upskilling staff. So I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully there was a couple of questions, but I'll hopefully cover them through my presentation, and if there isn't, then obviously we can answer the questions afterwards. So let me just share my screen. So in terms of what the Skills Hub actually does, there we go. So we have a team of skills advisors that work with businesses, and one of the things that they do will sit with the SME or sit with a business to discuss their structure, what staff they have at the moment, where they struggle to recruit, where they struggle to get training, if it's a specific skill set, but where there's also areas of vulnerability. So if you only have one person that is trained to use the system, the impact that it has on the business and that individual. So it's looking at, and I think with having to work from home and this flexible working is probably highlighted a few more areas of vulnerabilities where we rely on one person to do one job, and we need to upskill other members of staff to help alleviate those issues really. So skills advisors can work with that and then signpost to different Skills Hub delivery partners. So at the moment we have over 70 delivery partners that we have gone through, or they have gone through a due diligence process. So we've checked things like references, any audits, what the skill set of the advisors are, to check that their training really is above standard. So rather than you just having to look up on Google or whatever, when you use a Skills Hub accredited provider, you know that there has been a series of checks conducted on them. All these training providers are based within Staffordshire, and they will provide training within Staffordshire as well. A lot of it can be standard, but they will bespoke the training to meet your needs. So if you want not just a off-the-shelf sort of course, but you want something that's tailored to understand your business and to meet your needs, then a lot of our training providers will adapt and work with you. And I think that's really, really important, particularly if you're paying out for that sort of training. What we can also do is signpost, not just to bespoke training, but if you are looking to take on an apprentice or you want to put through a member of staff through an apprenticeship. Now, remember, apprenticeships can go up to a level 7. They can be up to degree level. Its managers can go through it. It isn't just your standard 16 to 24-year-old. So we can talk through the whole of that apprenticeship process. And if you do want to put someone through a management apprenticeship, or whether you want to recruit a marketing apprentice, then we'd be able to signpost you and match you to a training provider that can either help you recruit that person, or you can do the recruitment yourself and they will just offer the training to go alongside that. So there's lots and lots of different options. So if you haven't ever taken on an apprentice before, but you're interested in the services and the financial benefits that the county council are offering at the moment, then we can signpost you and put you in touch with a training provider that can help either recruit and to work with you. So there's lots and lots of strings to the bow to what a skills advisor will be able to offer to yourselves. We can also help identify and discuss what is training. So where there's training that people don't necessarily recognize that is a course, so things like we do a lot of lean management training, we do a lot of ISO training, so things where you may currently outsource and pay for consultants, we may be able to help you find courses to help you bring that into in-house, which may reduce your running costs overall, which is a positive step. And then what we do is we already at the moment offer a grant. So if you do put together a sales training course, for example, or you want to do some ISO training, then we can offer a 48% grant. With the new nil top up, what that means is rather than it being 48%, we can offer up to 100% of that grant to a maximum of £5,000. As a business, as an SME, you can put in multiple applications. You can only have one nil top up. So if you wanted to put one member of staff through an ISO training, you'd be able to get a nil top up to £5,000 for that training. But then if you wanted other members of staff to do some training in software or manufacturing, then you'd still be able to get a 48% grant. And there's unlimited amounts at the moment of grants that you can apply for as long as it's different training for different people. The only eligibility that we have is that the companies must be based in the Staffordshire area, must be training for 6 months, and they must be defined as an SME, so less than 250 employees and less than a turnover of 50 million euros. I think there was a question in the chat. I tried to answer it, but I think I might have dismissed the question, so apologies for that. If the company, it is about where the company is based, not where the employee is based. So we understand that sometimes, particularly with the apprenticeship ones, but with the training as well, if you are based in Uttoxeter, you may have employees that are outside of the area, which that's fine. We'll be able to cover the funding for that training for those individuals because it's about where the actual business is based. If it's the opposite, so your business is outside of the area, but the employees are in our area, at the moment, there isn't anything we can do for supporting that because the business is the registered place where the grant goes to. So it's the business needs to be based in Staffordshire. So hopefully that answers the question. in terms of examples, there is, as I said, a whole, at the moment we've got over 2,500 courses listed on our website, but some of these courses aren't ones that we would have listed, you know, and aren't necessarily going to be key for any business. Things like Xero or Cardex, there may be systems yourselves that use that can be advantageous and would be useful. Lots of people. Is that me? Or?
If you just put yourself on mute, Anthony Baines, you get to go again.
So some of the courses that we do are quite standard, but then other ones and things like the one that catches my eye is carriage of lithium batteries isn't something that every company is going to need, but you can see how unique and specialized some of the training courses can be, but it's about what the employer needs as you need for your staff to do. Sometimes it can be more generic, as we said, in terms of sales, in terms of well-being for your staff. One of the key things that you need to remember is we can also support staff who are currently, if they're on furlough, if they're on reduced hours and you're looking to bring them back into the business. I was going to say we're all very used to using Teams and Zoom, although we still get it wrong quite regularly. But if you haven't been at work and you've been on furlough for the last 12 months and you're being reintroduced into a new way of working, there's going to be quite a lot of training that's possibly needed to catch up to where we are. What I'm hopefully got is I've got a video now just to demonstrate how, let me just check. So this is what our website looks like. So what you can do is go onto our website. If you click onto the nil top up, it just brings up a contact sheet when you put your basic details in, and then we'll be able to submit your application. If you want to help finding course, you just type in what you do at the top. So for example, sales, and then lots of different options come in. It searches for the title. You can look for the description as well. And all these providers that we have listed, as I've said, have gone through a series of checks. So they're approved Skills Hub advisors. When you look for a course, it will tell you if it's already funded. So if it's an apprenticeship, if it's a long course, if it's a short course, it will tell you if there's already the funding already available. So if it's through skills support for the workforce, or if there's adult education budget. So there's some courses, I think there's over 800 courses that are fully funded, and you would apply to those direct. And then if it's, as I said, a bespoke course, then we can go down the 48% grant or the nil top-up grant. And at the moment, we've got quite a lot of availability for the different areas. So we've got a set amount of money that we can spend in Lichfield and in Burton and in Cannock and Tamworth. And so please, this is my contact details, but our basic number is 0300 600 1066, and I'm happy to answer any questions. But hopefully I've covered quite a lot of that in that presentation.
Wonderful.
That's it.
Thank you, Suzanne. And I think the key with that we're sort of discussing today, of course, is Burton, Lichfield, Tamworth, and Cannock. And I know sort of historically they're areas where there is funding available and there is opportunity there. So
yep.
Yeah, I think you'd certainly agree that it's ideal for businesses on the call to look at that. So, okay, great stuff. Well, we've got a few questions coming in now. Please do continue to ask them, and we'll pick them up in the course of the next few minutes. So, what I think we'll do now, Suzanne, and if we bring on Rebecca for her presentation, and then we'll bring forward all the questions that we've got. So, we've got a question from Pete. We have one from Matthew Lawrence that you've sort of answered through the course of, but we can go into that as well, and then also a couple from Vanessa on the chat as well. So if we pass over to Becky now, and again, Becky will go through some of the wider Growth Hub support, and then we'll open the floor to questions as well. So Becky, over to you, and thanks, Suzanne, appreciate it.
Lovely, thanks. Just want to check my microphone's working okay before I kick off. Lovely, okay. And I'll just hang on for those slides. Lovely, great. So thanks for joining us this afternoon for Staffordshire Means Back to Business Funding and Grants Review, and welcome to businesses from Burton District, Cannock Chase, Lichfield and Tamworth Chamber divisions. As a Growth Hub, we support the entire county, but in particular the divisions we've mentioned, we're sort of tailoring the support to you guys today. I'm Rebecca Parker, accredited business advisor and team leader of Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire Growth Hub. And now you've heard about Staffordshire businesses and employers can get a further boost through the £5 million Staffordshire Means Back to Business support scheme. through this enhanced package of funding. And it all adds up to this really exciting £5 million package of support available to Staffordshire businesses, no matter where you are in the county. We want to make that accessible to you. So I'm talking to you about the Growth Hub and how we can facilitate and match you through to this support, really, just to simplify things. So I wanted to talk to you about what this means for businesses, how we can assist you through Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire Growth Hub. So I'll talk to you a little bit about who we are. Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire Growth Hub is one of 38 growth hubs around the UK. And we were established by central government with the purpose of helping to unlock private sector growth through access to fully funded support, job creation and business growth, ultimately. The Staffordshire Growth Hub is the core of support for SMEs in Staffordshire. So we would always encourage you, no matter what, to make contact with us, whether that's, you know, for funding and finance, for skills and training, just to simplify that. And if you can remember that we have this one dedicated point of contact. Oh, apologies, I'm not asking to flick through the slides. It might be a good opportunity to flick through. I haven't quite mastered the bit where we're supposed to go through the talking and the facilitating the slides. So yeah, just to use us as a central point of contact is absolutely fine. And the business helpline is at the bottom of the banner on each of these slides. So as a growth hub, then we support businesses from any sector, whether you're a limited company, a sole trader, whether you have commercial premises, whether you're home based. We support businesses from all sizes, from startups through to large companies, through growth, diversification and life cycle of your employees. So nobody, nobody can't tap into the funded support through the Growth Hub. So I'd always encourage that you make contact. We provide a triage service to investigate your business needs, and we signpost you to fully funded support provided by more than one of our 120 partner organisations. So Suzanne's a very good example. Staffordshire Skills Hub is one of our 120 referral partner organisations. So if you were to link in with us as a Growth Hub or through our business helpline to talk about skills and training, for example, I would naturally refer you over to Suzanne Quinn and her team to conduct one of those analysis type meetings with you. The focal point of our Growth Hub then is the business support helpline, where I conduct an initial triage of your business and assess your needs in more depth. And we advise on all the means back to business financial assistance packages through a dedicated one-to-one. All of the COVID financial support assistance, from CBILS, the bounce back loans, the restart grants, additional restrictions grants, local restrictions grants. It's our job to simplify that. And I appreciate if you were to Google and search for that information, you'd be looking for a very long time. And we want to make that easy for you. We also advise on capital and revenue grants. So COVID aside, when we're talking about business growth and the growth of the local economy and job creation, so for businesses to be able to tap into capital and revenue grants, known as European funding as it is at the moment. So at present, irrespective of the EU transition, some of the funding lends itself to the UK as still European money. So you might have heard the term banded around ERDF, where you can see the logo at the bottom of the presentation. And that stands for the European Regional Development Fund. And that will remain with us until sort of 2022 and eventually be replaced by government funds. Throughout this year, we anticipate there'll be new ERDF schemes available to Staffordshire SMEs, and they will open for expression of interest. And there'll likely be funds available from around £1,000 through to £1 million for capital purchase and revenue projects. And that's despite the financial support packages that have been put in place by the Chancellor as a result of the COVID pandemic. So it may well be that you've had financial assistance, whether it be additional restrictions grant, for example, and that's not affected by you going ahead and applying for further grant assistance for capital and revenue projects. It's all down to eligibility criteria. And again, we wouldn't expect you to know that. I'd say just touch base with us and we can talk to you about whether you qualify for capital or revenue grant funding. So we at the Growth Hub then, we're a team of accredited and qualified general business advisors and specialists with over these 120 referral partner organisations that I've mentioned, from local authorities, university support programmes, the Staffordshire Skills Hub, through to mentoring support, access to peer programmes, and ultimately we're here to support growth, support job creation, and in turn grow our local economy. Our specialists are made up of a funding and finance specialist advisor, Matt, who can support you with capital and revenue grants, alternative funding and finance, for example, equity and debt, but equally that can come through me at the helpline. We have a HR advisor if you employ staff, so leading on the job retention and self-employment scheme currently, the life cycle of employees through recruitment and redundancy perhaps, but typically disciplinary and contracts of employment, so anything to do with the life cycle of your employees in the business. Our marketing specialist advisor can advise on strategy through blogs, PR and social media. And we also have a growth and recovery specialist, Rich, who can support on growth strategy, but also recovery as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Apologies, I'm terrible at the slide bit, but it might be the next one. We're also joined on here, you can't see her actually, she's actually a participant, my colleague Pam Wallace. Pam Wallace is a dedicated business advisor for South Staffordshire through the Growth Hub. So if we're joined by businesses from the districts that we mentioned and you want to link in and have a dedicated one-to-one with an advisor, then it would be Pam Wallace for South Staffordshire, and I can put you in contact with Pam. We also signpost the Staffordshire Chambers of Commerce digital specialists that can support you in your digital transformation journey, so they can advise you on things like your IT infrastructure, unified comms, voice over IP, CRM systems, bespoke software, and all sorts of things. And we do all of this and we facilitate all of that support through what we would call a one-to-one diagnostic. So whether that's face-to-face, hopefully in the coming weeks or months, whether we facilitate that over a platform such as Zoom or Teams, or whether we do that over the telephone, then I would encourage you, it's fully funded, it's free of charge, to link in with either one of the specialists that I mentioned or a general business advisor to have an impartial conversation. As a Growth Hub, we have a strong social media presence through LinkedIn, Twitter and Facebook, so you can follow us on there as well. And we regularly post information from Staffordshire County Council, for example, other partner organisations and central government. We've got a strong website presence with a dedicated web page for COVID-19 financial assistance support, so I'd encourage you to look on there where we've published all of this information for you. We've got a diverse events calendar and a webinar library that you can look back on topics on demand, and we regularly produce newsletters, so you can sign up and subscribe to those to keep in touch with local authorities, Staffordshire County Council grant funding scheme information and central government updates. And again, I would just encourage businesses to make contact. I think it's just the final slide, thank you, through the business helpline, which is 0300 111 8002. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Becky. No, that great. Give us a really good idea of the areas, and I think, yeah, the key area is that there is so much areas of support, and having that discussion with a Pam or yourself, Becky, or Suzanne is absolutely key. So, wanted to come on to the Q&A. We have 15 minutes left, so we're about on time, which is all good. So, if there are any further questions, please do post them in the Q&A. I can see one come in so far from PhD Design. I run a business in Lichfield. We're looking to take on a new member of staff as business confidence is starting to return. How should I apply for the Small Business to Thrive grant? So Becky or Suzanne or whoever wants to get involved in that question.
Yeah, apologies, I'll take that. So typically we sign back to the dedicated website of Staffordshire County Council, have a Thrive, Staffordshire means back to business, Thrive dedicated webpage. And the expression of interest form is all loaded on there, unless you need to correct me, Anthony. But I believe that's, businesses will go to there directly and apply. It might be, depending on your sector and your circumstances, that we have a conversation either through myself or Pam Wallace for South Staffs, on other funding streams as well. And it's not that there are grant schemes to take on staff as such, but there might be some other schemes that can assist you in, laptops, telephony, PCs, desks, to facilitate that staff member, and also Suzanne Quinn through skills and training for that individual. So it might be good to pick that up as a one-to-one, but there is a dedicated web page for the Thrive information.
Yeah, and I think something I've always said, and we regularly hear from a lot of these events, is if you're looking to grow as a business, speak to your Growth Hub and let them know you're planning to do that. Don't tell them after you've done it, because it's a lot harder to get funding for something that's already done or nigh impossible, and that's the key. So definitely worth making a call, Pete. And I suppose more generally, to Becky, this could be, you Is that a regular question you're now getting as we slowly open up and slowly move forward? That sounds, a positive view from a business owner in Lichfield. Is that something you're finding happening across the area, that people are now looking to grow as things unlock?
Yeah, there's been a real shift. So I manage the business helpline for Staffordshire and also the inquiries inbox, and we've seen some really huge volumes in the last 12 months, as you can imagine. And there's a real trend shift in those types of inquiries. At the very beginning of the pandemic, naturally, there were, people were trying to tap into the survival funds, the emergency grant schemes that Staffordshire County Council facilitated, and also, and now we're looking at how can we create jobs, take on staff, upskill people, potentially purchase machinery and equipment. So it is nice. We are genuinely seeing that shift in Staffordshire.
Yeah, that's really good to hear. Great stuff. Thank you, Becky. I wanted to answer Vanessa's question she put at the start. So how can we apply for support? We've obviously gone through that, but are these new funds available? Have they been allocated? Tony B, I know the sort of fund was announced over the last few weeks, probably 6 weeks or so ago. Where are we with that funding availability for all of these different programs? I know there are different take-ups in different areas as well.
Okay, so for the apprenticeships, we've had just about 95 applications come in for about 160 opportunities. So there's still room for several hundred apprenticeships to be created. For the free training offer, there's been around about 300 expressions of interest come in that are getting processed now, and Suzanne will be able to tell you where they're up to, but there'll still be capacity in there, we'd imagine. And for the To Thrive, we've had about 200 applications in for that scheme as well. So there's still capacity in schemes. But what we are doing as well is talking to partners and districts and the boroughs to see if there is additional funding that we can gather to put in new schemes if there is demand. So don't let it put off you applying. Come forward if we can articulate that demand from businesses around training, support, growth. We'll see if we can put a package together to support it, or indeed enhance the current schemes that we've got. So don't be turned off at this stage.
Suzanne, did you want to just come in there as well?
Yeah, so in terms of the grants, we've got around, for nil top-up training, depending on the values, we've probably got around between 40 to 50 grants that we can offer to Lichfield and 50 for Cannock, etc. So for in each area, and at the moment we haven't allocated the full amount. So by all means, please submit your applications. We're working on the expressions of interests have all gone out, and we're processing them, and now we're just working on a first come first serve. So if you submit an application, we'll be able to process it, and we're turning them around quite quickly at the moment as well. So yes, there's plenty of funding still available across all of the areas.
I know it does obviously depend on the type of funding that is requested, but what is the average turnaround time of some of these grants, do you find? If you can put a figure on it, I know it's easier said than done.
It depends on the training, because some of the training that we have, so some of the training we've had can go over for 8 months. So it depends when it starts to when it finishes. So if they submit an application, at the moment we can turn the application round so they get a confirmation within 3 to 4 days. So you'll get a confirmation quite quickly. What happens is you have to pay for the training up front and obviously put the claim in once the training has taken place. So when you actually receive the funding will depend on what sort of training. If it's a day's training, a week's training, or a 3-month process, then obviously it will depend on how long the training takes for. But if you do have training that goes over 9 months and is done in modules, and you want to put claims in per module, then we can try and help with the finances, which will make it life a bit easier than rather than putting one big claim in at the end.
Wonderful, thank you, Suzanne. Great stuff. Got a few more questions coming in, which is brilliant. So one from Andy Jones. So I've launched a new business in Stoke-on-Trent after being made redundant due to COVID. I've invested my redundancy into equipment, but looking for startup funding to enhance the product and help with marketing. Is there any help available? Becky or Suzanne?
In terms of skills, you have to be startup for 6 months plus, but it's something we'd be able to support with. But we would, for startup support specifically, we would transfer to Becky. So over to Becky.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll take that. So when I talked about briefly the European funding, the ERDF grants that generally lend themselves to the UK, the criteria is relatively strict. And first and foremost, they want you to be at least 12 months trading as minimum. So when you apply for a grant and it goes to panel decision, you have to submit at least your first year's worth of active trading accounts. So unless we've got those to submit at the time, it would get rejected, which is why I would never waste your time with that. As a startup under 12 months trading, it falls to, unfortunately, loan funding. Staffordshire County Council happen to have a startup loan at the moment of up to 5,000 on a 0% interest basis. So again, you can link in with myself or Pam and we can talk to you about that. Quite unheard of to have a 0% interest loan, so that's particularly interesting. And then government would always suggest we go down the route of the startup loans company backed by UK government, the British Business Bank, and that's a loan of £25,000 per director, and I think that's fixed at a 6% APR. So once, long story short, we can go down one of those two routes, or come back to us once you've got that first year's worth of trading, and then we can start to look at grants. They maybe make contact with me around month 10 and we can look at what you can forecast for then ahead of that 12-month trading, and it might be that you can apply right at that point and it can aid and assist your growth really.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for that, Becky, and Andy, thank you for the question. So yeah, it looks like there are some options there for you, and good luck in your new role and your new business. That sounds really exciting, and I'm sure exactly what we want to see as business support organisations is people making that decision to go on their own, which is fantastic. I wanted to bring in Julie there, Julie Poppleton. So we're a levy payer and have fully utilised our funding for apprentices, which has all been spent, but we could easily accommodate more. Would we qualify to apply for funding?
Sorry, was that a question for Suzanne in terms of training or?
It looks like, yeah, apprenticeship funding, yes.
Do you want to take that, Suzanne?
I'm not sure how, I don't know if you've applied for the apprenticeship. I think that goes through the apprenticeship website. That's not something, we don't allocate apprenticeship funding. If we can divert people if they're non-levy payers through the to Staff's College or to the different ones, but I'm not sure. I don't know whether I can answer that question in terms of the actual increase in how many levy paying apprenticeships you take on. That's not something we tend to get involved in because that's centrally distributed.
I think I'm not sure if Tony's with us. I know he was looking to answer the question. His signal may have gone. Julie, definitely worth picking up, probably offline, perhaps with your provider as well, and we'll go from there. So thank you for that. And then lastly, Matthew Lawrence. I heard Rebecca mention capital grants, but missed the detail. Was that possibly the grants we mentioned when Andy's question? But if not, you want to pick up on that, Becky?
Yeah, sort of. So normally around the beginning of April every year, there's a release of the new capital and revenue grant schemes to each local authority in the county. They haven't quite released yet, possibly as a result of coronavirus. A lot of the funding teams or the appraisal personnel are tied up with the COVID type funds. So there's a bit of a delay on that. I would say hopefully by beginning of May, perhaps first week of May, we might have had those grants released. So typically then anything like I mentioned from 1,000 through to maybe 1 million top end. It's subject to all sorts of different criteria. It's not as cut and dry as giving you quite a simple answer. If you're in a position to create a job, of course, then you can be awarded more funding. A lot of the funding is what's known on a match funded basis. So you would go ahead and purchase once you've been approved, you would submit the invoices and you claim back what's known as a percentage intervention rate. Some of those are really healthy percentages, so they're funding more than half and you're funding the deficit as a business. So yeah, we're looking at hopefully around the beginning of May. So you can either perhaps visit our website and sign up to the newsletter so that we can keep you informed, maybe chasing information, or book a one-to-one and we'll have a chat sort of beginning of May onwards.
Brilliant. I think as always, it's having that discussion early on as when you've got that in plan and having that business plan so you can start looking at funding before it specifically is released. So wonderful. Well, we're just about there for the time scale. I really appreciate everyone's work and obviously everyone's patience with the odd technical glitch here and there. a great thanks to Anthony Baines, to Anthony Hodge, to Rebecca Parker, and to Suzanne Quinn for all of their updates. The recording will be sent out, so too will the presentations. So please do look out for those following the event. I think the most important thing is, if you've got plans, ideas, thoughts, is get in touch with those involved. And I really appreciate that. I know Anthony there's put some information on the different levy transfer aspects and one or two of the other links. So we'll get some links sent over in the meantime. A huge thanks to everyone for being involved. And what we'll do now is, I have put in the Zoom room networking following the event. So please do, if you want to join us for a quick chat, please do pick up that area, and we'll be on live from 1:05. So if there are anyone of you want to join us, and please do, we'll see you in the other room. But thanks to all of our speakers, and it's been an absolute pleasure hearing from that. I think the overarching view is that there is support out there for businesses in Staffordshire, and certainly some very passionate people and experienced people there to help you with that through that process. So thank you, everybody, and we'll look forward to seeing you hopefully on the other side at 1:05. Thank you.